may be the biggest thing that's ever happened.
Wherever there is injustice, you will find us. Wherever there is suffering, we'll be there. Wherever liberty is threatened, you will find
the three AmiVO's: Dave McRae, Garnet Williams, Mike Pongracz. Separately, they are humble Canadian voiceover superstars. Together, they are the three AmiVO's.
Ladies and gentlemen,
here we go.
And now, the AmiVO's and Friends Super Fantastic Happy Hour VOdcast.
everyone ready?
Yeah.
He's brought the high class to the show.
I have Ormani shoes on.
Ormani?
Yes, Ormani.
Ormani? He paid for them with his Visa and MasterCard.
Yes. No, it's my Ormani.
You got it on the sidewalk in New York.
What the heck's wrong with you?
With your Rolex. You got a Rolex watch to go with it.
Welcome back.
It's my Ormani. What the
Welcome
hell's
back.
wrong?
Welcome to. Let's try that way.
Welcome back. Welcome to
the AmiVO's and Friends Super Fantastic. I can't. Welcome to the AmiVO's and Friends Super Fantastic Happy Hour VOdcast. To my left, AmiVO Ormani Dave.
Listen, instead of Armani, I like Ormani, okay? That's right.
Shatner over there. You say sabotage, I say sabotage.
Tuesday. Do you know people who say Tuesday? I can't stand people who say Tuesday. Where the hell is the Tuesday?
Hold that. In front of me, AmiVO Garnet Williams.
Hi, I buy off the rack. I can't afford Ormani.
Not the rack you're thinking of, folks.
I'm AmiVO Mike Pongracz, trying to maintain some sense of decorum here.
Oh, this is good.
Choose you. That's what I was thinking. That's what I got out of that.
All right.
Oh, well,
Tuesday. But there are certain
there are
words-
people that'll say Monday, Tuesday. I'm like, where is this chew coming from?
Yeah. Well,
it sounds more elegant than Tuesday.
Well, especially if you know.
Oh, especially.
especially.
Do you say vase or vase?
It depends.
Vase.
What do you mean it depends?
Well, if it's for an American e-learning,
what kind of pretentious douche you're hanging out with that night at the vase show or the vase show?
But it's funny though. I mean, you guys both do corporate e-learning stuff.
Yeah.
And we get stuff from the U.S. and Canada. And there are times where you'll get a script. Now it's almost second nature where you'll get a script and the client will be like, so do you have any questions about the product? And I'm like, is this American or Canadian? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, do we say default or do we say default?
Right. Do we say process or
Process.
Canadians don't really care. Default, they don't care.
No.
But if you're doing something for...
That's just how we are.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes.
Well,
We're
accommodating.
accepting
We're very
of
easygoing.
everybody.
We
We're
are.
accepting and accommodating.
Yes, we are.
I made a joke about the choose you. Have you seen all these videos that people are now posting as of doing this broadcast?
Yes.
And it may change by the time this broadcast actually goes out. Harry Shearer is still not...
He's still not coming
back. Everybody's taking advantage now, thinking they're going to get the Willy Wonka golden ticket.
Well,
Yes,
I
know.
saw a guy today whose video has him doing 14 different Harry Shearer characters.
Right.
And you know what? Out of the 14, he doesn't do Principal Skinner, and he says, if I didn't do the voice, then it means I can't do the voice.
Yeah, it'll be interesting on two fronts because you'll have the established voice actors who I think there's a certain segment of the population that won't do this out of respect for Harry
So
Shearer.
if they go knocking on like John DiMaggio's door or
Yeah.
Paulson, LaMarche, any of these guys, hey, Billy West, can you do a...
I have a feeling that there's probably going to be this unwritten no. Because let's be honest, I don't know how many people that have that kind of cachet that would want to step into that role, knowing full well that the entire Simpsons fanverse will crap all over whoever does it.
Yeah.
So
point.
I don't. Some would equate it to.
It's got to be somebody who's really good.
Yeah, well, Harry Shearer.
It's got to be the underdog.
Yeah.
It's got to be the Rocky.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that will make a difference. I think ultimately, if
Got
they
to be
don't,
Harry Shearer.
if they don't get Harry Shearer
Well, it
back,
does, but you look at. Of course, it's not really the same. I was going to compare Jim Henson and what happened there, but I mean,
there are a lot of instances
because
where
you can tell the difference between the Kermit now and
sure you can.
Absolutely.
Jim Henson.
But this is one of those cases where I think they're too far in now, and I think
right.
the
Well, that's what I was gonna
circumstances
say,
surrounding Harry Shearer leaving. I don't know. I mean, if given the opportunity, I'm sure there are a lot.
Do
of
you
people
think
that would be,
Now, I don't know the fine
details. Do you think he left because he wasn't happy with contract? Because obviously it was just renewed for like what, another
2 years.
2 years.
Right. So do you think that
and he was going to make $14 million? Over 2 years.
So
okay,
Harry. But again, it's a different world. They live and play in a different world.
Yes, they do.
So I mean, you know what? 26 years is a long time.
And he's 70.
Yeah.
He's 70 years old.
He doesn't need the money.
No,
he doesn't need the money.
No.
Which goes back to that whole thing we talked with Cliff the last time. Is you don't? Do you do it for the love? Do you do it for the money? No, you do it for the love because you enjoy it.
But who's to say that he just didn't? You know what? I've done this.
He's fallen out of love with it.
I want to.
And he's fallen out of love with it, and he doesn't need the money. So what's the point at that?
Yeah,
he wants to. He's 70 years old. You know, the clock's ticking too. If he wants to do other things, direct, act, write, whatever, you know, now's the time.
Fox could turn this into a reality show.
Ooh.
If they were smart.
If they were smart, they could. They could throw it as a summer show.
Yeah, but they don't got a lot of time because the whole reason the contracts were being signed now is because they work over the summer to get episodes into production for the coming season.
They missed an opportunity there.
Yeah,
they could get Ryan Dunkelman to host it. You like that?
Aww.
Like, there's another Fox reference right there.
He actually tweeted.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he tweeted after it was announced that
the final season of
American Idol was going to be, its final season.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that. Where the hell am I?
Well, Brian Dunkelman.
Yeah,
he was the
co-host.
Is it
Brian or is it Ryan Dunkelman?
It's Brian.
Oh, it's Brian Dunkelman.
Brian Dunkelman was the co-host of American Idol with Ryan Seacrest in the first season.
Yeah.
And when it was announced that they're now going into their last season, he tweeted, "I knew it wouldn't last without me."
That's good.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
And you know who else is brilliant?
Who?
Matt Cowlrick.
Well, it's funny because I was going to say, we talked about the internet.
Segue. Can you get the segue over here? A little props. Thank you.
Wow, that was like a truck.
A Mack truck.
For those of you that don't know Matt, he's got a bit of an accent, a little bit.
Slight.
Little bit.
He's from a little bit.
He ain't from around here.
He ain't from around these parts.
It's a little hard to hear, but
he's
a little ethnic-y.
He's in Victoria, British Columbia, beautiful part of our country. And
sorry, where?
Victoria, British Columbia.
Right.
I'll be curious to know if he's developed a Canadian accent because we tend to do a lot of faux British, faux Australian.
That's right.
Yeah, I go visit relatives that I have in Scotland and England, and when I'm there for a couple of days, I start taking on their accent.
I'd be curious to know if he's got that because, I mean, he's got a killer Australian accent that I can't do.
Yeah, he's very good at it.
But I'd be curious to know if he can do like a straight up Canadian or North American.
We'll get him to jump through some hoops for us.
True enough. Matt Cowlrick joins us on the AmiVO's and Friends Super Fantastic Happy Hour Vodcast when we come back.
The 3 AmiVO's.
Warning. We'll be right back.
Changing the voiceover industry 1 toque at a time.
We're going to take a little break, but we'll be back in a while, so don't nobody go nowhere.
And now,
And now, it's time for another 3 AmiVO's Fun Fact.
Hey there, it's AmiVO Mike with another AmiVO Fun Fact. And timely, given our guest on this podcast, Matt Cowlrick, who lives in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, which is on the west coast of Canada, for all you geographically challenged folk out there like me. The late Johnny Cash sang about how he'd been everywhere, man. Me? Not quite. Despite it being an absolutely lovely part of our country, in fact, some would argue the most beautiful part of our country, I've never been out to the west side of Canada. I know, right? Sadly, the furthest west I ever made it was Brandon, Manitoba. Look that one up. It was a road trip when I was in high school that was cut short due to funds, weather, and a general sense of homesickness. I missed a girl. I've spent some amazing time out on the east coast of Canada. Love my lobster. And of course, I've lived in central Canada all my life. But the west has eluded me. It's something I need to rectify. Stat! Now, someone please remind me, which way exactly is west from here?
From the land where it's perfectly okay to say, nice beaver. The 3 AmiVO's.
And we're back.
There we go. See, if you don't do that, then I'm completely lost. Welcome back to the AmiVO's and Friends Super Fantastic Happy Hour Vodcast. Joining us all the way from beautiful, picturesque. If you haven't been there, please do go because it is probably one of the, if not the nicest places in Canada, or Canada, depending on where you're from. Victoria, British Columbia. That's right, Victoria.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I sucked at geography.
Keep going. You're almost to his name.
Let me just say it. Matt Cowlrick joins us on the
Hi. It's great to be here. Thank you very much, guys.
Matt Cowlrick, who is our first Australian.
Yes.
Which is very cool. We met now San Antonio, did we not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
San Antonio,
San
right?
Antonio.
The first
The
FAFCon.
first-
Yeah.
Our first FAFCon.
Our first FAFCon.
Which was 6.
Yes.
FAFCon 6.
This is a fact.
Okay.
That FAFCon 6,
Yep.
Garnet
Yep.
came home a big winner.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
did. I won a prize,
won a prize.
from your homeland.
Yeah.
Somebody had donated a boomerang.
Now, have you mastered it yet?
Dude, I haven't even opened it yet.
Oh, it's worth
I'm
more
afraid
that
I'm
way.
going to kill somebody or myself if I throw that.
Yes, he keeps it out of the reach of his children, too, because, no, you can't. Dad! So,
Tell you what, those things are an exercise in patience. If you can get yourself to a field, like a park somewhere, and it'd be particularly entertaining to watch your kids do it, I think, just to see them try to get it where it actually comes back, because otherwise it just kind of either flows straight into the ground or keeps going.
Yeah, but if I take one to the head and I can't do long division anymore, we got problems.
That's right.
That's my fear.
now, Matt, how long have you been in Canada now?
4 years.
4 years.
I came across at the beginning of 2011, so a little over 4 years. And I was just going to come over for 6 months or a year, and then ended up staying. And I've got the permanent residency in processing and all that. And of course, my wife is Canadian, so I'm in it for the long term, baby.
Now,
great.
before you came to Canada, you were doing voiceover in Australia, were you not?
I was, yeah. I started off doing radio and TV in Brisbane, which is kind of like number 3 as far as busyness and size of the Australian cities. It's kind of Sydney, Melbourne at a bit of a tie. And then Brisbane, and Brisbane's a really nice city. And there's a decent radio TV scene there. And I was at that point really just getting in, and it's kind of funny that it was when I moved to Canada that my career started to move forward. I guess
Like
working
Mike, Canadians are suckers for accents.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah, and I kind of set myself up with some subtle branding of my Australian accent with down under voiceovers. Nice and light, not making too much of the Australian thing there. I was doing radio and TV commercials. That was most of what was happening in Brisbane. Like, there were a couple of studios and radio affiliate houses that would do radio production for the rest of Australia. And so there was a fair bit coming through there. And that was kind of how I got my feet wet. And I did an animated series as well when I was in Brisbane. And actually I lived in London for a year before I moved to Canada. So I was doing a bit of voiceover there in video games and still doing the remote thing. And then I went back to Australia for a little while. And then after about a year and a half or 2 years, I moved over to Canada.
How did you get the start in voiceover? Like, were you a theater major in school?
I studied music performance in university, but I did do theater and drama in high school, and kind of worked my chops that way. And I was pretty into video games and cartoons, and started to develop an interest in voiceover that way, and got a little more studious and looked into the industry, studied it for a while. But then I went and did my music degree, and I was doing some voiceover on the side of that. And then I graduated from music school, and thought, I knew that I wanted to do voiceover rather than music. I kind of switched gears at that point. And I thought, I was either going to be an unemployed musician or an unemployed voice actor, so might as well just
serve two evils.
Yeah. So I just went full time for a while, and it was so nice saying to my parents that now that I've got my safety net of music, I can take up acting.
Was that part of the deal though with your parents?
Yes and no. I think they were pretty tied in to me doing music, just from a sentimental point of view, because I'd worked really hard with music and did a lot of performing through high school and university, and so it was nice, I think, for them to see me finish the degree, and I found value in just finishing something as well, like just to complete a degree was useful. We're a pretty unconventional family. Like my siblings, not all of us went to university. and so they're not really worried about that sort of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they liked the fact that I did finish. And
we've got one that got a degree. That's good enough.
yeah, that's right. We'll chuck that one on the board and hope for the best.
So you came over to Canada. Did you start in Vancouver?
No, it was straight into Victoria.
Straight into Victoria, okay.
Yeah, and I did have a number of clients from my home studio at that point, so I kind of brought them across. And then when I moved to Victoria, I worked for a while in a day job. It was about a year and a half that I was doing both voiceover and working in the day job. And I really wanted to wait until my voiceover income had eclipsed my day job income, and that I knew that I could probably make in voiceover what I would make in the day job before I made the switch. And I went full-time with voiceover in 2012, and I was still in Victoria at that point.
The method of the scale, when the day job and the wanna-do job, when the numbers sort of go higher on the one side, that it makes it a little easier, I think, to make that leap to full-time.
Yeah, I think really I did it 2 times, like the going to full-time, because when I left university, I did go full-time. And like I said, I had that whole, maybe it's like that fearless romantic abandon of a musician where I'm just like, I'm just going to do it for the art, screw it all, screw stability, dependability.
It's not about the money.
That's right. Yeah. So I kind of just jumped into it, and I was, 20 at that point, and I thought I'll just give this a whirl and see how we go. And I booked I did have that cartoon series that I did, and then I had a very long, ongoing e-learning job. And I was like, oh, this is pretty sweet. Got, practically full-time work out of the gate. And I just did bugger all marketing and actual business work alongside that, the animation work and everything that I was doing.
Because it was so easy, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's like this dream job. And then I got to the end of those contracts, and I was like, oh, well, shit. I got to go and get some work. Yeah, and then I went and did some travel, and I think I sort of pulled my head in and smartened up a bit about developed some business acumen, and then I had a better idea of how I would do it the second time round after slowly building up my business, and then but having that stability of a day job to be able to, pay all the bills and the usual stuff, and learning from that experience of jumping in head first when I started. I did it in a little more of a methodical way the second time round.
So when you got to Canada, did you start as a union actor, or did you go from non-union to union?
Yeah, I was just non-union going in, because work in Victoria, like the industry in Victoria is quite different to Vancouver. I mean, it's a smaller population, and Vancouver is such a hub. My first job that I got in Vancouver was with the union, and that was 2013 I started working in Vancouver. Other than that, it was all in Victoria.
And I mean, Vancouver is well known. I mean, especially in North America, as far as animation goes. Now, I think Toronto still has a little bit of an animation
in voiceover.
Yeah, but Vancouver really had a big boom with a lot of the anime stuff. A lot of the DVD stuff. Like I know the Barbie movies were...
Right.
Yeah.
I have a daughter, so the Barbie movies were being produced.
Well, you're certainly not at a loss being in the Vancouver, metropolitan area when you're, are seeking a career in...
But as far as animation goes, I mean, in Canada, animation, a good chunk of it is still very much union, ACTRA-based. So, I mean, that being your forte coming from Australia, doing the series, was that part of the reasoning that, okay, you know what, if I want to do this kind of work, maybe sort of the union-based stuff is kind of the direction to go?
It's funny, because though I got into animation I got into voiceover for animation, I kind of got distracted by commercials and corporate, because when I started off doing animation, wanting to do animation, some people in the industry said, oh, well, that's great, but you have to kind of supplement that that work in animation with commercials and e-learning and corporate and rah. And so I then started working on that, and I kind of left the animation stuff behind. I just was heavily into corporate and commercial. And I didn't necessarily, to try and answer your question, I didn't see Vancouver necessarily as a thing that I would eventually jump into. It was just there, and I knew that a strong scene existed in Vancouver. But it was then when I started getting back to animation. Like I just thought to myself, oh wait, I got into this racket for animation in the first place. So why am I, not honoring that? And so I sort of jumped back in, and then I did some coaching with Ellie Ray Hennessy, who is over there in Toronto with you guys. Yep. And we went along that path of getting back into animation and cutting a demo. And then I was trying to get on with an agent in Vancouver, and it took me like a bunch of times. I applied and would have discussions and had referrals trying to bump me into this agency. And they were like, no, he's over in Victoria. No. Oh, the Australian thing's a little specific, so I don't know what I could do.
Well, that's interesting though. I mean, is Victoria, being in Victoria, is that considered not frowned upon, but I mean, were the agencies in Vancouver really that concerned that, oh, he's in Victoria? Because how far is Victoria? Is not that far from Vancouver.
Well, it is a half an hour seaplane flight to downtown Vancouver from downtown Victoria, which is a little more expensive, but if the job is worth it, then it's worth it. Right. But then as far as the regular commute goes, it is about a 4-hour commute each way by public transport, then on the ferry, then public transport to Vancouver downtown. Yeah.
See that my geography is terrible because I just always assume, well, Victoria, Vancouver, it's not that far. I mean, if you
don't know.
It's the best of both worlds. You get the beautiful sort of like outside the city life in Victoria, and then we'll go commute into Vancouver to work, and then I can leave. It's like other people's kids. Great to have, and then you can give them back at the end of the day.
That is absolutely how I feel about it. I go into Vancouver and I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to getting back home.
So interesting. So that was a bit of a deterrent from agents, the fact that you were in Victoria.
Yes, and I would say that they get a lot more screen and stage actors wanting representation in Vancouver, and they live in, like, the talent lives in Victoria. So I'd say that there is a bit of resistance there. They probably don't get a lot of people wanting voiceover representation. And for me, it's a little different because, of course, we can MP3 auditions. I have Source Connect, IPDTL, ISDN via Bridge in my studio that I can do. And a lot of my work in Vancouver now is done via Patch.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's usually animation that they'll want me over there. A couple of commercial gigs where, for whatever reason, they want me in the studio. Yeah, I'll travel over, but a lot of the time, yeah, I'm just doing Source Connect or what have you.
See, it's interesting though because I mean, with the fact that Victoria, if Vancouver sees Victoria as sort of a smaller town, in that kind of context, people that live in sort of smaller rural areas tend to be, from my understanding, non-union because there's more opportunity for work as a non-union actor in a smaller, sort of more regional area. Right. Whereas opposed, if you're in the big city, sometimes it does really make sense to be part of the union. You're ACTRA. How do you manage to get as much work as you do that's union-based in what would normally be considered, I mean, non-union corporate e-learning tends to be, at least in this side of the country, very much non-union. How does that play out?
For me, the work that I do in Canada is all union, either through my agent in Toronto or in Vancouver, in BC with UBCP. Okay. But then a lot of the other work that I do, it doesn't fall under union contracts. Like there's no way for me to sort of pull that in union jurisdiction in Canada.
Are these European and Australian clients that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting. Okay, because I know in the States they have FICOR,
right,
where you can you play both. I mean, you're non-voting member, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Interesting. So in Canada, then, as far as you're concerned, the material, like I would assume, a lot of the corporate and e-learning stuff is stuff that you've pulled in from Europe, from Australia. excuse me, that falls under the non-union sort of header, I guess.
Yeah. Like, how do you handle that? I mean.
Does ACTRA not get upset?
Yeah, basically.
That's the question.
Look, I basically asked that question when I was trying to get on with this union agent and like coming on to a union series, because joining the union, like my understanding was that joining the union in Canada meant that I wouldn't be able to do any of my international work.
Right.
And for me, that would be taking such a significant pay cut.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
How would I do it? And I talked to people, and they were just like, "Well, no, there's not a way for you to do this work under an affiliate agreement, or through the union in Canada. Like they don't want to take that work in. They don't want to process it. I guess.
Is there such thing in Canada as like paymaster, how they have in the United States, where they can convert non-union work to union through a paymaster, but does Canada not have something similar to that? Or
look, not to my knowledge.
Interesting.
Everything that I've done in Canada, it all just seems to go through the producer,
right,
and then through my agent. Well, like my agent is, I guess, not really a signatory, but
right.
They have all the agreements and the contracts ready to go.
For somebody out there who might be listening, and they are sort of contemplating: do I go union? Do I go union? Do I stay non-union? What advice would you have to a talent that might be in the position of, do I do it? Do I leave all these non-union clients behind and go union, or do I, not make the step? Or I know there's a question in my thought there somewhere.
No, I got you.
Union or not union?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that as a Canadian talent in Canada, and if you're dealing already with non-union clients, then from my perspective, and like really this is projecting, and it's like you said, each situation.
Yeah, it's your personal experience, right? That's right.
But I would say like the geographical factor would have to play a part as a Canadian talent, because Toronto and Vancouver, though they do work with people remotely, like I did a job with Toronto yesterday, and I know that talent here in Vancouver patch out to Toronto. I still think for the main part, the work is very focused on who is in town.
Right.
Do you guys get that sense with non-union, or with your work in Toronto? Like, is it pretty heavily ingrained in like having guys come into studios, or like there's a lot of value on face to face?
Toronto's a weird place. I think.
Yeah.
Toronto's. I mean, if you go to a lot of the studios in Toronto, and you ask about if you ask about the union versus non-union, 5-10 years ago, the percentage was 80-20.
That's
like
right.
80 ACTRA, 20. 80-20.
Yeah.
Was union, non-union. Whereas now, I think there were some issues with ACTRA years ago that caused a lot of people to sort of second guess.
Yeah, in the voiceover side of things.
In the voiceover side of things.
Yeah.
I think rates got to, companies weren't willing to pay those kind of rates.
Well, and
I think the union... Oh, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that thing that happened 10 years ago, as you said, is probably the internet, right? Like everybody's starting to get online, everybody's starting to do this kind of thing.
It does have, I think it does.
I think the union used to tell clients as well that, we've got the better talent here under the union umbrella. And as things have progressed over time, clients have heard
right
some non-union talent and
because
realized
there's that illusion
Yeah.
if you're union, you're better, which doesn't mean anything
Doesn't
at all.
necessarily.
No,
No,
it doesn't necessarily mean
But
anything.
but the big companies have started to come around to that, and that's why we've seen this this flip of some of the big companies, because they want to save a buck. They might be a multi-million-dollar corporation, but if they can save a few thousand here and there in their advertising budgets,
And I think in certain cases, I mean, the non-union rates now versus years ago are definitely a lot closer to what union scale would be.
Yes.
So the lines are blurred even more. But as far as Toronto goes, I think there's still a pretty big balance between union versus non-union. A lot of the animated shows, a lot of the bigger clients, the bigger companies still go through agencies that are signatories, and have to be unionized. In sort of as an example, a client that I used to voice a lot of stuff for went through a sale. So a bigger food company bought the smaller food company, and because they've always dealt with agencies that were signatories, I got bumped because I was non-union, and they had to recast a union person.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of a mix.
But it's a good question, because I mean, I find I do find that for most of the radio and TV stuff that I do, I will be asked to go into the studio downtown, right?
Sure.
If I'm doing e-learning, if I'm doing corporate presentation and training videos, things like that, that's usually done from home, and the clients aren't always in Toronto either. So most of them are, but yeah, I think it's.
But it's still the big city.
But it's still the big city, and most of that stuff is. But you're right, though. The divide. I can't speak for Vancouver, but the divide between non-union and union here in Toronto is. It's a lot closer than it used to be.
I'd like to change course.
Yeah, please do.
Because
all right, fine.
Because we
Mike and I have gotten out of it.
Since we've beaten this topic
Mike
into
and
the
I
ground,
have gotten out of the car.
The union and non-union here.
And Garnet's got into the driver's
Matt's
seat now.
obviously bored at this point, so I'm going to switch topics.
I just opened up Minesweeper.
But I will say it's been fascinating because online you do talk a lot about the fact that the work that you do is ACTRA and ACTRA rates and such.
Right.
So for me it's kind of interesting to hear from a talent that lives in what I now know is a little more remote than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Right. But he's doing union.
But he's doing
stuff.
union work and making a comfortable living at it. So, or at least a more comfortable living than.
Teach us, Sensei.
Yes, please. Wise Matt Cowlrick, tell us, please.
You just mentioned rates, and that's actually the course that I want to go here, because I understand we weren't there. The most recent WovoCon.
You are infamous now,
but
because of WovoCon.
you kicked up quite a stir at
that
WovoCon.
karaoke performance I gave.
No,
Really
not that.
stirring.
Not that. No, not that.
Who would have thought you could do a great Peter Garrett? I did not know.
Yeah, it just
It was
flows
the whole,
out of me.
It was the whole Midnight Oil Crowded House in Excess medley that he did that really won the crowd.
Yes.
But
boy, can we throw any more Australian stereotypes at you?
and the AC/DC encore.
Yes.
Yeah, Akadaka.
Akadaka. There you go.
No, I wanted to talk about the presentation you did on internet usage rates.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And a lot of people were really blown away by, the information.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think
it opened a lot of eyes, basically.
We've all known that, I mean, at least the three of us, we've discussed this ad nauseum about the fact that the internet all of a sudden has now become more of a broadcast TV presentation than conventional broadcast.
Oh, it used to be written off as like, and we might put it on the internet. And it's like, you know what? Internet is bigger than radio because it's worldwide audience.
That's right. That's right. The internet is no longer becoming. Oh, it's the internet.
It's not value added. It's not value added.
Right. Exactly.
It's
exactly
the main value.
Exactly.
From an actor standpoint, how far behind are we as far as rates go, or as far as sort of addressing this sort of new prestige that the internet has? Like, are we looking at something like the music industry where they were in Napster and MP3
it'll never be anything.
It'll never our
right.
model is still strong. Are we too late to adjust rates?
I think that it's not too late, but I was just kind of touching on this afternoon with someone that I think the control with internet broadcast is not really in our hands or talent agents' hands or in the union. Like as far as I can tell, no union is across thoroughly the issue of internet broadcast. By that I mean YouTube pre-roll, Spotify, Pandora, catch-up TV is the thing that's back in Australia. Though, yes, a union agreement might differentiate between, say you record a spot for TV, and then the client wants to put that on YouTube pre-roll. The union might say, oh, you have to pay for internet use. So at the moment, it is just internet use.
Right.
And internet, in many people's minds, just still exists as non-broadcast. Like it's still got that label slapped on it, non-broadcast, for the majority of the population. And when talent deal with any internet projects, that's how they charge, as like a non-broadcast thing. It is different to corporate or an internal usage, but it's still largely viewed as non-broadcast in that there is no way that we differentiate between markets. Some people might be differentiating between periods of use. Like they might say, I'll give you this internet video you can use it for a year.
Right.
But that is where we don't have control, in that producers and the actual platforms themselves have really just said, this is how it is, and you're going to work for it this way. And because it started so small, internet radio was just this little old thing, and a couple of people had it, and it was considered people who are at the computers all day using internet radio. It wasn't as easy to get it on your phone and all that sort of thing, so it was pretty obscure.
It was very niche.
That's right. And so the producers and the platforms said, okay, we'll give you X amount, and that's it, just for the spot. And it's pretty much everything is in perpetuity for
internet-based
for things like
stuff.
internet radio,
Okay.
and for internet spots, like say things on YouTube.
That's an awful word. I don't like that word, especially as
It
far
scares
as
me.
it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I often say to clients, I don't like to speak in terms of in perpetuity, because that means that I have to cover conflicts and usage until the end of time for me.
But don't you think, Matt, that in order for this to change, the whole mindset towards the internet, there has to be sort of a cultural shift, because, as you said, people still don't think of the internet as broadcast, and that might be because there's sort of a psychological effect to it, and the fact that everybody has access to it, in the sense that everybody or anybody, if you have a YouTube account or a camera or something like that, can write a blog or upload a video or so there's this sort of this idea
It's
that
not
there's
professional.
It's not professional, right?
Because anybody can get on.
Right, whereas
the
not
internet.
everybody can do a TV show, or not everybody can do a radio show per se. So even though radio and TV is older, it's still hung on to the status of being sort of the bar to.
It's like an exclusive club.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's the place. It's
So in order
professional.
for things to truly change, there would have to be a cultural shift in how people perceive the internet, not just things like there'd have to be some sort of shift in how we perceve it, in
a
how
cultural shift
people
to perceive the internet.
in order for them to say, hey, you know
Yeah.
what, you're right, you deserve this rate and this amount because this is broadcast, right?
I think that a lot of marketers, for a lot of marketers, that shift has already occurred.
Right.
Like a lot of ad agencies out there are starting to frame their campaigns differently and really use the internet in that way, because they're definitely seeing it in a different way. I would agree with you that there's like a divide. There's people who don't see the internet, and in that sense, I guess the global view of the internet is that it is this thing that's not quite serious.
Right.
But there are lots of people out there that do take the net a lot more seriously.
So
Right.
what can we do as talent to foster some sort of a change in attitude for value for certain spots? What can we do? I mean, clearly we can't go to clients and say, hey, come on, the internet, your spot's going to be seen by gazillions of people, as opposed to if you run it on TV, it's only going to be seen by a million people. Like, is that our plan of attack? Or
I think that the angle that you're on there is a part of the plan of attack. One of the things that I brought up in the session at WovoCon is that when a client comes to us as talent saying, I want to make this internet spot, we need to say, okay, can you tell me a bit more about how it's going to be used? And if you are kind of up with the curve and know what the different broadcast options are out there, like Instagram video, YouTube pre-roll, the internet radio, you can say like, are you going to play it on this? Are you going to do this? Are you going to be buying clicks on advertising?
Right.
And maybe some clients will be like, oh, no, we're just going to put it on our website. But then there are clients that I've spoken to and that other talent, like in this space of time between WovoCon and now, they've been chatting with their clients more about the project, and they found out about all this usage that is going to occur with the spot. And this is where the misconception was, I think, for us going into the different internet broadcast mediums and going kind of, how do we track this? Like, how is this even tracked? Like, yeah, you can say, like you said before, oh, millions of people will see it. But then the client might be like, oh, well, we don't know. You know,
there's
we
no
might
way,
not.
Well, that's it. There's no way to quantify it.
But now there is with YouTube pre-roll, because they are essentially buying clicks.
Right.
Or buying views, and then which will hopefully lead to clicks. And then, of course, you've got the pay-per-click advertising,
right,
which occurs with videos as well. And the client is going to have this information because when they either go to the ad agency, if they are an ad agency, they know based on their budget how much they're going to spend on exposure and how many impressions they are expecting to make.
Right.
And then the success rates, I read recently that I think 30% of people watch the full video on YouTube pre-roll. So, you know, when the ad plays and 5 seconds goes by and you skip it and you're like, get me out of here.
Ad.
Yeah.
I'm the skip the ad guy.
Yeah, that's
especially on my own.
Yeah, I hated how I am researching a spot. Like, you know, we get an audition and they reference another commercial, and then you're like, okay, I'll just watch this commercial, and then it plays a commercial before you get to watch the commercial.
Right.
The redundancy department of redundancy.
Yeah.
So essentially, I mean, it sounds like that the days of where it's going to be played geographically doesn't matter as much as usage when it comes to the internet. I think usage might be the new buzz term for
the
non-broadcast.
impressions, like how many people see it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I threw out there. And these are all just kind of possibilities. And what I see is the most powerful thing that we as talent can do is kind of get some ideas together and approach some of the platforms like Spotify, Pandora, and even try to understand data more from YouTube. There's a little bit of collective stuff that needs to happen here. It doesn't need to be collective rate setting, but just as far as how we negotiate these things. And what I kind of threw out there as an idea a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you guys saw this, but as far as like a YouTube spot goes, say the period of play is 1 year.
Right.
And you do the spot for X amount as like your basic session fee,
right,
and covering the year of play. Then if it were a TV commercial and it were playing in Ontario, Nova Scotia, BC, you'd be adding adding extra rate on top of that,
right,
to account for the different market usage. With a YouTube spot, what I thought could be an idea is that so you start off with a base usage of, say, 100,000 views for the spot, and then if the client says, okay, I want to do 200,000, 300,000, we have like a multiplication system,
right,
which kind of bumps up the rate based on that,
right,
and then like they might have said, oh, we're going to do 5 million views in the first year, and they give you a rate for that. And then they want to renew the spot and do another year and maybe get another 15 million views. And that can be how we can calculate a fair rate. And like I said, the metrics are there on the views, and you can actually see it when you go onto the video.
Right.
So there's no way they can sort of, no, we only had
it's all very transparent.
60 views, mostly my Aunt Janice.
But this has to be sort of a universal,
apparently
agreed upon,
Yeah,
right?
it sounds like there's a lot of pieces and groups that need to be involved with this. I mean, even from the agency standpoint down, I don't know how much the unions themselves are really seriously looking at it at this point.
They will have to.
Because I mean, to me, it seems like this. Again, not speaking for the unions, but this would seem like, we're not worried about that internet thing. Let's worry about what's always been the way it is.
Who's getting
television.
lunch?
Yes. Do you get the sense that from the agencies and upward are starting to realize, oh crap, we better, we're losing potential revenue.
Yeah, for the talent agents, I think a lot of them are as confused as the rest of us, and like you said, with the union, they're focused on the things that they're making money at the moment,
right?
Because maybe a lot of the agencies are entrenched in TV and radio broadcast, and they're buying yachts with it, and so that everything's fine in their world.
See, that's what's scary, because we saw firsthand the music industry.
Yeah.
Completely.
That was a great comparison. I never thought of that.
Arrogance.
Yeah.
Is what essentially killed the music industry.
Yeah, screwed it.
They like to blame technology, but you had the opportunity.
You've got to go with what's happening. Technology is expanding exponentially, and it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow.
I feel so much smarter now. I
know.
really do.
Thanks,
Matt.
Matt.
You're brilliant. Well, again, Matt's become infamous because of this, and
it's
something
great.
it's something that we've all discussed, but nobody's really talked about. So
That's right. That's right.
Now, Matt, one more thing before we go, because you do a fair amount of commercial work. You did a Scrub and Bubbles spot, did you not?
That's right. Yes, I'm still the voice of Scrubby. They brought me back.
It didn't sound like you. So now, can you turn off your Australian accent, like how us Canadians would be able to try and do a faux British accent? Do you have a straight up North American, mid-Atlantic Canadian / accent?
Yes. And I find that when I am just in conversation, it sounds a little contrived. It's I'm definitely better with a script. But,
come on, let's pretend.
Okay,
so,
right.
Dance
so
for us, monkey boy.
Well, I guess if I were just to switch and go into my North American. And usually when I'm on sessions, I'll actually be Australian, and then I'll deliver the script as.
That's great.
Can I just say right now,
Very good.
you've got a great Joe Cipriano impersonation right there. You sound.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, that
Tonight on Fox.
Sounds a little. Like Steve
it
Stone
does
as
a little
well.
bit.
This is good. So Joe, let's talk a little bit about what you've been doing lately. You've had
Your book's been out for a while.
Living on the Air is a great book. Joe, what kind of advice would you have for up and coming voice actors that want to do promo?
Well, I'd say work on your best Joe Cipriano.
Dude, that's killer. Oh my God.
Kind of take it
Matt.
from there, really.
Matt,
Oh, damn.
Matt, we're going to have you back on as Joe Cipriano, and we're not going to tell anybody, even Joe. And he's and when he asks, he'll say, Joe,
give
you're on.
Great Joe Cipriano rates.
That is
way cheaper.
Matt, you have a real that is an undiscovered
good.
talent right
That's
there.
your new party trick, my friend.
I mean, I could try calling Joe and saying like, "Hey, I understand that there are some checks at your place for me."
Matt,
you know what? I've never heard the Joe Cipriano thing before.
That's amazing.
No one's ever doing that
You
one.
now have a new party trick.
It must be the shotgun mic that I'm on.
That's amazing. MattCowlrick.com that's the website. Yes.
No, don't go there. Down under
JoeCipriano.com. What do you think?
Down under voiceovers.
Downundervoiceovers.com. Why? Then why is MattCowlrick.com?
It redirects.
Oh, does it?
But the site is actually downundervoiceovers.com.
Okay, good one.
You know what? It doesn't redirect. I do still have mattcowlrick.com, but that was an earlier website, and then I'm still treading this confusing territory of how do I
migrate your old customers?
I'm doing more and more North American work, and I see it as a sort of a conflict of branding and the marketing that I give off when everything is like down under voiceovers. So I don't really know how to frame myself.
You
really.
can do what I always said. The website's changing soon.
That's how he tagged every show for the better part of 2 years.
Or just have two websites. Maybe a site more geared towards your Australian
and your Joe Cipriano accent. That's
and have.
Can also find Matt at joecipriano.net.
I'm thinking joecipriano123.com.
Brilliant. You can also catch Matt on our friends of ours, the VoiceOver Cafe.
Yes.
And I just, if you're in for another great podcast.
Can I give one really quick plug just around what we've been talking about?
Yeah.
We are really pushing forward with this discussion on internet rates and negotiations in the World Voices organization. So if anyone's keen to check that out and get on board WOVO, world-voices.org.
I
think.
World-voices.org. That is correct.
Matt Cowlrick, all the way from Victoria, British
Thank you,
Columbia.
guys.
Thank you.
It's
Joe
been
Cipriano,
wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh
Lots
my God.
of fun.
You totally see that's
good.
The
That's good shit right
Cipriano.
there.
I mean the knowledge. You brought the knowledge, the information, but you brought the funny with the Cipriano. This
that was good
awesome.
stuff.
We will come back and wrap up this episode of the AmiVO's and Friends Super Fantastic Happy Hour VOdcast right after this.
The 3 AmiVO's.
Warning. We'll be right back.
Changing the voiceover industry one toque at a
We're
time.
gonna take a little break, but we'll be back in a while, so don't nobody go nowhere.
Here's another 3 AmiVO's iceberg tip.
Hey folks, AmiVO Dave here. If you have early morning sessions, like 9 a.m., 8 a.m., 7 a.m. maybe, do yourself a favor and get up early enough in time where you can start to warm up your voice. Because usually in the mornings, we all have what I like to refer to as morning voice. When you call somebody early in the morning and they answer the phone and you can tell that they've just woken up, this kind of sound. Hello. Oh, hi, John. Yeah. Hey, yeah, no, I'll be right there. It kind of sounds like they have a bit of a cold. Well, you don't want that voice going into a session. So get up early enough in enough time where you can really warm up your voice, drink something, eat something, talk to yourself while you're having a shower, talk to yourself as you're driving into the city. Just make sure your voice is warmed up and ready to go. You don't want to start a session early in the morning with what I like to call morning voice. Now, back to the show.
And we're back!
That was quite good. That was good.
That's good. It was good.
That's good.
It was all right.
Wow. Thank you to Matt Cowlrick.
Maybe in another 12 shows, I'll let you do it again.
Thank you to Matt Cowlrick for joining us today. Holy crap. He's
good.
His Joe Cipriano is awesome. That is awesome.
And he didn't even know he could do it.
No. We brought something out of him there.
We did. Well, that's in this show. We discover that we can do things like that.
Yes, we can.
So
We can
good.
help those people.
That's actually why I think we were put here.
Is to bring
I think
stuff
it is.
out of
To
people.
help others.
I think that's the point of this show, really, is to
we are
help
the
those.
cure for VO constipation.
And the mic is drawn. Goodbye.
Yes, the VO constipation. That's what we're
VO
here for.
constipation.
No, it's amazing. And like we were talking about, we're curious if he could do a and he can. He
can.
sounds more
Really
North
good.
American than we do.
Yeah, he does.
So,
Yeah. That's solid.
That's terrible.
I envy those
So
who
we're
can do that kind of
Vox
thing.
lax?
We're Vox lax.
Wow.
Holy
That's our
crap,
new
Garnet.
That's our new branding. The 3 AmiVO's, VoxLax.
No, that's our sponsor.
That's our sponsor,
so we have to cut
VoxLax.
to a break.
This episode of the AmiVO's and Friends Super brought to you by Vox Lax.
The cure for VO constipation.
Get yours now.
Side effects may include diarrhea.
Diarrhea, constipation, head warming.
Okay,
Available
so
at
we're
Walmart.
talking. Okay, Matt Cowlrick.
Matt's awesome.
Matt's awesome, and some great information that he brought
Yeah.
forward about the non-broadcast, because that really is. It's becoming something that I think it's definitely something we need to look into, and I hopefully the discussion will start sooner than later, so that we don't fall, as we said, into the same trap that the music industry did, where you get behind the times and somebody's going to take advantage of it. Which is the one thing, maybe on a next episode, because this is the other thing that's been sort of bubbling in the background lately. I've noticed is the talk of pay to play again, which it never goes
It's
away.
always there.
But there's
it's like
been
a
some,
bad itch.
some interesting sort of discussion around pay to play and some of the
this.
companies.
There's talk. There's
There's
rumors.
talk. There's lots of talk.
And I think it's our duty as the 3 AmiVO's to at least talk about it. About what's been,
Fair enough. And maybe that's something
what's being
for
discussed.
roundtable discussion.
Some
yes.
people are calling shenanigans.
Okay, we gotta go.
Oh, boy.
TheVoiceman.com.
With 2 N's.
2 N's. DaveMcRae.ca.
That's correct.
WilliamsVoiceovers.com.
That is
How's
correct.
the new website coming along?
It's a process.
Do you still have
is it
the
a process
stadium
or a
announcing demo up there?
process?
For now, yes. Shut up. Really?
Oh, this is going to turn into an awful beatdown in a second. It really is.
Now betting.
Williams, voiceovers.com.
Moda.
MP Voiceovers.
It's being revamped.
There you go. I know that feeling. MPVoiceovers.com. Allthingsmike.ca still redirects to MP Voiceovers. You can get us online, 3amivos.com. Also on the Twitter. I'm still saying the Twitter. The Twitter! At the number 3 AmiVO's. Yes. And yeah, that's pretty much it, eh?
Hey,
That's it. So for a guy next to me here, Dave McRae.
Oh, hey, bye.
And Garnet Williams in front of me, eh?
Hey, how's it going, eh?
He's good, pretty good. Eh? I'm Amiibo Mike Pongracz. So on behalf of all 3 of us, we'd like to say have a good day. And until next time we see you again, we'll wish you a hearty and healthy
Ole.
We are
finished. We are over. It's over.
The AmiVO's and Friends Super Fantastic Happy Hour VOdcast has been brought to you by the 3 AmiVO's.
Show's over.
It was written, recorded, edited, and produced from deep within the Great White North by Dave McRae, Garnet Williams, and Mike Pongracz.
Are we going bye-bye?
For more AmiVO fun, questions, or comments, check us out online at 3amivos.com. On Twitter at the 3amivos. Until next time.